Bonjour tout le monde. I'm Joanne Porier. I'm the CEO of Ottawa Community Housing. And we thought that it would be important to have a meeting today to explain what has been occurring in the last few weeks and what it is that Ottawa Community Housing is going to do to fix the challenge that we've had. So I want to start first of all by apologizing and thanking you for your patience. I know it has not been easy and we feel very badly about that. But what we want to focus on today is explaining what has been taking place since November 30th and also providing assurances that we are working on the problem and that we are intent upon fixing it once and for all. So I know it's been very inconvenient, and for that we really want to apologize to all of you. I also wanted to mention that we have, if I could ask everyone to focus, what we're going to do is I'm going to be making a few statements. I'm going to turn it over to our asset management staff to provide a brief presentation that speaks about the chronology of events so that you understand that we have been working on it and what we've been doing. And we'll also then be focusing on our next steps, okay? So I also want to mention that we have Linda here from Councillor Diane Holmes' office. We have been in constant contact. The councillor sends her regrets. She had a conflict of schedule, but she has been communicating with us on a very regular basis. And as you know, she has been very, very a great champion in all of our communities. So at this point, if I could ask you to, we're going to have a few rules of engagement. I know this is a sensitive topic and I know some of you are very frustrated, and for that we apologize. But in order for us to effectively get the information out to you, we would ask that you not interrupt, and that if you have a question, absolutely let me know and we will make sure that we answer your questions. Si votre question est mieux demandée en français, cela va nous faire grand plaisir de répondre en français. Okay, we have bilingual staff, technical staff here that can field your questions if I can't answer it myself. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to ask Cliff Udale, who's our Executive Director of Asset Management, to give the very brief presentation, and I will ask for your full attention because the information is important. Okay, so Cliff?
All right, well, thank you, everyone. So, first off, I'm going to just give you an overview of what we're going to cover off today. So, we're going to go through a little bit of the background, some of the challenges we've had. This obviously has been a very difficult situation to deal with, where we're at today, and also look at what we're going to do and what you can expect during that period. All right, and at the end, if there's any questions or comments, we can wait till the end for that, please. So many of you are very familiar with this building, but it's 40 years old, and so are a lot of the systems within the building. We have 250 units, and the boilers, which have been causing the problem, they were put in 1996, so they're obviously not new, and we've had some challenges as a result. And at one point, this building was electrically heated by water, and there was a whole series of problems. At that point, it was converted to gas. And then, again, as many of you know, we've put an awful lot of money into this building the last couple of years, $3.8 million, with the new railings, the new windows, and the siding and insulation. So that's just a little bit of a background on where we are. So, in terms of the hot water issue, it really started in earnest on November 30th, when the call came in about the lack of hot water. And immediately upon receiving that call, we have a service contractor who looks after all our heating systems, Black & McDonald, and I'm sure many of you have seen their faces here over the last month or so. This has been their second home in many respects. So they were called out to take a look at it, as was a plumbing firm, because there are some other issues associated with this system. So if we looked at all the work that's been done during that period, I know when you don't have the hot water, it may seem like nothing's being done, but there's been multiple repairs to the boilers and burners. We've had many service calls out to our folks to try and reset the boilers. They've modified the system that circulates the hot water. We've replaced one valve that was problematic. We made modifications to the lower floors 1 through 6 to try and alleviate some of the problems there. We put parts on order to replace the boilers, as well as another valve for the distribution system. We've had thermostats installed, or sorry, thermometers installed, and we monitor the hot water with our staff as well as our contractors. That doesn't fix everything, but that's all the activity. So these guys have been here on a regular basis, and I can assure you they're trying their best to get it resolved. And I can talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we've run into. This system was installed, we mentioned earlier, went from electric hot water tanks up on the floors to a gas boiler. That was put on the ground floor, and the space is quite tight for that boiler system. So it wasn't a standard boiler system. It's a good boiler, it was at the time, but it's just not standard, and that offers challenges. And also, there wasn't anything that was broken that we needed to replace or a contractor could go in and fix. When they went in, the analogy I can use is it's a little bit like an older car. Sometimes something breaks and you can fix it. You know, you got a broken belt, you bring in the mechanic, you fix it. Other times it just doesn't work properly. You bring in the mechanic, he tries something, he thinks he's got it, doesn't quite work, you bring it back in. That's what we ran into here. We end up having some issues with the valves, pressure relief valve. Won't go into too many details, but we had problems with pressure relief valves, pressure reducing valves. We think that they might have had an impact on the ignition system of the boilers when they didn't work properly. And there were some issues with the distribution system. So the combination of those has it made it difficult to diagnose. And the other thing that we ran into is when we tried to get some of the parts, it was over the Christmas holidays. So the availability of some of those parts was limited. And getting clear answers from manufacturers was a little bit tough because they had shutdowns. And we just recently found out as of yesterday there was one recall, one of the parts that we used in good faith. We got some feedback from the manufacturer that they were having some problems with those parts. And then lastly, we had Enbridge in yesterday because there were some issues with the supply of gas and the pressure, operating pressures. So as you can see, this was, we described it internally as a perfect storm. If it could go wrong, it did go wrong. And I can tell you that our mechanical contractors and our staff were here on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. They've been here countless nights at 2 and 4 in the morning. So it's not for lack of effort. It's just been a very difficult problem to diagnose. So where are we today? So the burner, we've had some parts replaced on the boilers. That was done on Monday. So I know there was an outage this week and it was related to that change. We've had one of these pressure reducing valves replaced. Second pressure reducing valve, we initially thought there was going to be a long lead time. We've been working with our plumber on that one. They're going to use a different valve, but hopefully will be in this week. There's we also retained an engineering firm who will be looking at the system and coming up on recommendations on whether that is to repair or replace or modify the system. We're going to look for their professional opinion, and whatever it is that we need to do, we're going to do. And we have the funds set aside to make sure that we can effect those repairs. So, I think one of the concerns I'm sure you guys all have, and we have, is we don't want this to continue. We want to get it fixed, and we want to get it fixed right. Whether that can be done with the existing system, or it requires a new system, bring in a professional engineer, third party, make that assessment, and whatever it is we need to do, we will do. So we're monitoring the system regularly. I'll be honest with you, with all the changes that have been made and on the modifications, we're doing our best to keep it up and running. But it's been challenging, so the best we can do right now is monitor it, make the changes that we can make, and make sure that if anything happens, we get our people out there as quickly as possible. So both our contractors are on notice that they're to respond ASAP if there's any issues. all the parts that we think we are gonna need to effect the repairs have been ordered and are expedited. So we have the alternate valve is coming in, the replacement parts for the boiler. We're in at the beginning of this week. And the engineers have been in to take a look at the system. So, what you can expect over the weeks to come, with the service we've had, I think you're going to see that overall it's been improved. I think some of it, we've definitely addressed some of the problems with the system, and I said they've been multi-sourced, so we're tackling them each as they come along. We still have to do some repairs. We've got a valve that's going to have to go in. There may be some further modifications needed to the boiler just to tide us over. So there may be occasional disruptions while we make those repairs. We are, like I said, mentioned, we have a full engineered repair replacement strategy that's coming from our engineer. We've tucked away the funding to make sure that this gets done. And the other piece of this is we want to make sure that you guys are in the loop with everything that we're doing, and we'll do a better job of making sure that we communicate whatever is going on and what we're trying to do to get these things fixed. I can assure you, we want this fixed as much as you do. So do the contractors. And so everyone's put an effort to make it right, and we will get it right. And whether that be a modification of the existing system or a brand new system, we'll leave that up to the professional engineers to decide. But they're on a short leash to make sure they do that in a quick manner.
Okay, so at this point, what I'd like to do is to see if you have any questions. I'm going to ask Cliff to sit, because if I can handle the question, I will. If it's a more technical question, then I'll refer it to staff. And I'm going to ask, please, that we respect each other, and that as a person is asking the question, that you listen to the question and to the answer, okay? And I'll